Alright, welcome back to Nugget Garage. This week Scott's going to get nerdy with this thing on stuff that I don't understand, so he's going to talk about that crap shortly. But first we're going to talk about Barry and Kevin issues to answer some questions. First thing to mention is someone's asked about 60 foot times. They both ran a 1.6 on the last pass, so they are not too bad for what they are.
Barry'd actually go a bit quicker again, I think, because there's still something in that ECU that's making it cut just as it leaves, and then it comes back
it
on.
does a big
It almost wheelie, I think, if you could make it leave and stay on power.
It would actually, yeah, it actually.
And then I think each pass I had to lift off the throttle maybe 3 times to let the gearbox catch up, and then at 1,000 foot, for some reason, every pass they put a big flame out the pipe and stop for a bit and keep going. So it's probably a 1130 car, I reckon.
Yeah, it'd be a low 11s, which is pretty good because it's a stock BA non-turbo bottom end and gearbox. But the gearbox is half the issue. You know, like it's
yeah, that's the problem. You know, we're thinking about what to do with it. I don't want to spend any money on it.
Yeah,
we did think about giving it away, but I don't know the complications.
I don't know if that's a thing. Maybe
the thing is, it would be a good super street car. You could keep going with it. Like that's actually pretty much in the second highest quick street class in the street series. You could run it in that.
It's no slouch, really. 11 car's pretty quick.
No, so someone could keep going on with it, but then
it's on borrowed time.
Yeah, it is. If it blows up, would feel bad.
Yeah, it will die eventually. But maybe we can try that.
There is some
line pressure thing
you can do.
So maybe do the line pressure and give that a go, and then see if we can't iron out the bugs with it cutting and carrying on. And
I don't want to drive it anymore. The aircon stopped working. One of those big limiter bash things. That
you had one go and you broke the aircon.
It did.
That was Kevin's got gearbox.
It has an electronically controlled Jacko valve body in it, and it's Joel from JD Trains reckons that you can't run it the way I've been running it.
Yeah,
which probably makes sense because it doesn't work.
So the fix for that's a manual valve.
Yeah, it's about $700. That's worth doing.
I think it's a bit more actually, which is
$1,000
money. So money I don't got. No cash here.
Realistically, if you want to keep going with that next V6 for that, then it's got to be done.
It's got to be done. So I'll probably look into getting it done eventually anyway. But yeah, that was a few times. It changed gears by itself. Like I'd shift and then it'd just shift again by itself.
Yeah, it was trying to go the whole lap in overdrive, which is not good.
Yeah, so it was very difficult. Somebody said, why don't I start off in first gear? And the reality is, even if I let go of the brake and change gear as soon as I launch it, I can shift it, but the car won't. And then it'll just hit limiter and then shift itself and then shift again.
3-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, it was
ridiculous.
So, which is why we started off in second, because it was doing it anyway. The second gear ratio was similar to power glide kind of stuff. So
169.
Yeah, so second gear launches was feasible, but still there was I think I actually caught a shot of me on the in-car camera of me shifting,
and it didn't shift.
And then it didn't shift, and then I hit it again, and then it shifted twice.
Just left mine in B for drag, mate.
Yeah, well, I didn't have that option.
But, so I think the next thing we'll do drag strip wise is the commercials. We've got to race the truck, the van, and my old VX that I sold to Aaron. We're going to upgrade the fuel system and that. Try and go out there and have your car's the most work though.
Yeah, I got to pull the hot side off mine. There's a bit of a turbo leak and I've been lazy and haven't done it.
That was the first thing we did on this channel.
Yeah.
And we're doing it again.
Yeah, and it sucked pulling that apart, so we're going to do it again. So that'll be the next thing. We've also got the Falcon Ute.
We're not doing that. You're doing that one yourself. I'll video that one. I'm going to go Al style. I'll be on the camera and Chris is going to do the fabrication and the work on that.
Fabrication? What? There's no fabrication, mate. I'm just going to throw it at a wall.
All right, so
as for Scott can get nerdy on all this.
So it's a lot more, it's been a lot more work than what I thought. I've tried to make subboards. There's a subboard in the back, there's a main board on the footwell, and there's a fan control board that I haven't made yet up the front. And just trying to plan that out and make it all neat. And it's taken me a long time.
Yeah. It does fit really good though.
Yeah, it's worked out pretty good. We did a test of it last night, and I had a problem with the IO expander. I assumed the DPOs could do pulse width modulation, and they can't.
It's no electronic.
So even though I was hoping to do a 1-wire CAN hookup, I've now got to run another wire to use a DPO off the ECU. Yeah, that was a little bit of a pain. And in that process, we killed one of the China oil pumps, because it turns out that it was about 140 psi that it was trying to do, which is good, because I can turn it down. Anyway, it popped the seal and where the shaft goes through into the back of the gear, and then filled the whole motor up with oil. So now we put the pump in it and ran a temporary wire back here to get that working, and yeah, you can run maybe 30 psi before it starts triggering the thermal overload thing. So I pulled that pump apart and I bypassed that. And
could possibly
ran it at 50 psi for about 15 minutes, and the pump got warm. But I was speaking to a guy from MTQ that was here last night, and he reckons 30 pounds of pressure constant should be sufficient on a journal bearing, and it does that without even getting the pump warm. So
yeah, and it's fairly quiet at that speed too. So it's not too bad.
So I'll try and rectify and rebuild that pump so it's a spare. Because it's going to fail. It's China.
Yeah, it's going to fail for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll show the peoples the stuff.
So here's my boot subboard. It's incorporating obviously a fuse panel, a solid state relay for the fuel pump control with a large heat sink, because I'm going to be running it at fairly low duty cycle, and I'm thinking it's going to generate some heat, so I've got to try and get rid of that. There's an IO expander on here, which is what everything in the back area is running to, other than the pump control relay, which was kind of what I wanted to do. Next to that, there's a fuel conditioning circuit, which is what's sending the fuel level information back to the ECU. There's 4 relays there for pumps and ECU relay, all that sort of junk. It's all wired and soldered and heat shrinked. I kind of overkilled the pump wire because it was 5 o'clock in the morning and John wasn't open, and I just doubled up some dual core. It's well and truly overkilled the supply for that. This whole board connects back to the front ECU just via CAN, and 1 extra wire now. So the footwell module bolts into the original spot where the actual factory ECU went. It's double layer. There's a CDI box on the second layer, which is kind of out a little bit further than where the factory one would be, but I don't have any friends, so no one's going to be in there. That board actually has about 6 relays on it, and it's got another solid state for the trans brake and the bump box and creep and all that sort of jazz. It's all wired with Deutsch connectors. I've still got to do the push button panel for all of the rolling anti-lag and trans brake and bump and all that crap. It's got fuses on it as usual. The Elite's mounted on there. The M&W Pro 14's actually had a mixed silk stats and wagon. We're going to use that to run the 2 factory coils. I've got to go to JW today and grab some proper Tefcell shielded wire for the coils with the little ground wires, so I can try and cut some noise out of that. Those wires are going to run through a different hole in the firewall, so I'm keeping it separate from the rest of the loom, try and cut down the noise. I ended up ditching the CAN hub and just making my own double adapter cables, which is kind of what's happening inside that CAN hub anyway. Reason being, I was just trying to eliminate as much wiring and modules that could pick up any RF, trying to keep the noise out of the system. So up the front there's still a mass of wires I haven't hooked up, but everything's grouped, and I've got 5 volts and grounds of all the sensors. I've just got to figure out the lengths, and then I'm going to actually try and terminate them all in the engine bay. I really couldn't be stuffed doing a bulkhead connector. It's just complexity for the sake of being complex. I think it's not like the motor's going to come in and out unless it blows up on the first pull.
Shh, don't talk about it.
But that would mean that it made boost, so that's all right.
Yes.
And the most important thing is about 3 weeks ago I backed the AC system up, and I've been testing it every couple of days. Hey. Still got backing.
Got aircon.
So the aircon's going to work. I've got to build a fan control module up the front here that's going to basically we're going to have 3 speeds for fans, because one of these fans is dual speed, independent, so one will be on with AC and the other 2 will be on with different temperatures. So I reckon I've got about probably 15 hours to go. So next week.
So next week on the dyno.
Next week it should have some.
Well, at least starting, yeah.
Yeah. We'll twist some wires together and power up this main board and have a listen to pumps and whatnot.
Oh.
I shouldn't probably run fuel pumps dry, but they won't run for long. So that's the turbo oil pump there at the moment, running just on a table in open loop. It's making about 35 psi, 22% duty cycle. So my wideband's talking to me, the IO expander's talking to me, the dash is working, turbo oil temperature's working. The other thing I didn't speak about either is the this car is an SZ Supra, so it doesn't have ABS, and the power glide output shaft doesn't have a drive on it for a speedo transducer. So I know Haltech sell them, and I totally didn't realise when I bought this, but I just got this GPS receiver that outputs a preset pulses per mile, and eventually it powers up and it finds the satellites. So that's going to sit underneath this tonneau and see up through the screen. Should work all right. Sends its data back to the ECU via CAN.
The pump's not that loud, eh?
The pump's not that loud at all. You can crank the pressure up and it'll get a bit louder. Ah! Yeah. So I don't think I can do a closed loop strategy with that output that I'm using. So I'm just using a table and just putting a taper of duty cycles. So if it falls, it gets more. If it gains, it gets less. So it's just going to sit there and ride it. Seems pretty stable. There's about a 5 psi fluctuation. Anyway. So next week we should make some noises.
That'll be cool.
Or if there's no video next week, it's something went totally wrong, and I'm pretending it didn't happen. All right, see you next week.
All right, guys. One thing we forgot to mention is we do have shirts back in stock. We've got these ones like Millsy's shirt. He still hasn't picked up yet. Millsy, pick up your damn shirt. So half of these have sold already though. I did put up a Facebook and Instagram post about them and they're selling out really quick. These are all we've got. So get in before they disappear again. As for hoodies, I don't know about the hoodie thing. We're going to try and work out a pre-order thing, but we've had a few complications with other things, so I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get around to doing that. But if you want a shirt, get on to nuggetgarage.com, onto the shop, and you'll be able to get one of these and some stickers, although the stickers are almost out of stock, but I will restock them really quickly. So get onto it. No, I'd just say now that I've moved it.
Huh.
Either that or you just didn't shave well and you're blurry.
I'm pretty fuzzy.
Could possibly go wrong. All right, shoot. Oh, that could go wrong.
That could go wrong.